Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do beer stuff here, and we do this beer stuff. Some of our favorite beer stuff, that would be mystery beers. This one, as you can see, comes courtesy of Sean from Nerd Sense. He sent off a box of beer. There was a mystery beer inside. Sexy sticker. Golden top. It has me a little bit intrigued. Makes me think mackerel. Could be something else. Let's dive into it and see what's what. For those that don't know, mystery beers are beers you basically open. You drink them. You have no idea what you're drinking. And then, yeah. We talk about them. Sometimes we actually try to nail down the actual beer itself. But we'll see how we fare on this one. Classic mystery beer stylings with the sweet painter's tape and paper towel. And honestly, it does look macro to a certain extent. But it also looks like a big double IPA. It kind of has this bright golden straw color. 2 fingers of white as white could be head. That kind of makes me lean a little bit more. Actually, it's probably a skosh off white. Makes me lean a little bit more into kind of a macro beer with how aggressive that head is. Very, very soft carbonation. And there's a soft, subtle haze to it in some way. It's not hazy, but it's not completely dropped out. That makes me think that it's not macro. So, what does it look like? Like I said, could be old school IPA, could be old school double IPA, could be saison, could be a bunch of different things. Let's get a nose. Okay, what is that? I actually don't know what that is. There's a fruit fly in here. It's the middle of winter. How is that possible? I'm getting like meat. It doesn't smell like a smoke beer, but I'm getting some kind of like hot dog kind of vibe off of this beer. Yeah, like a weird kind of deli meat kind of smell. That's really, really weird. A little bit of subtle sweetness. Nothing as far as bittering or really kind of any kind of yeast or anything like that. My hands don't smell like meat. This room doesn't smell like meat. But that beer has some kind of thing that at least is making my brain think of meat. Of hot dog water. Of deli meats. Okay. Maybe my nose is broken. Maybe it's been broken the whole time. I don't know. We're just going to dive in. Cheers, y'all. What is that? What is this? It's got a weird sweetness to it. It's got a weird sweetness to it. It's got a weird sweetness to it. There's a bittering to it. I don't really get that deli meat thing. But there's like a sweetness not derived of malt here. And it's got like a flabbiness to it. Why does this smell like... Was this in a fridge? Sean, did you put this in your fridge next to like a bag of deli meat or something? Okay. I have no idea what I'm drinking. This is fun. So, it's somebody's version of... I'm going to say it's somebody's Kolsch. I was going to say it's somebody's version of a Pilsner, but I don't think it's lager yeast. I think it's somebody trying to do like a low ABV or non-alcoholic, let's put it that way, version of kind of a lager, but with an ale yeast. That sweetness, like I said, there's some kind of extra sweetness to this for me. It comes from not a malt-based sweetness, almost like there was... It's not really honey, but almost like there was something added to it to bring additional sweetness to it. At first, on the first smell and the first taste, I was kind of going to lean into this non-alcoholic thing. That's why I mentioned it. I actually do think this has alcohol in it. I don't think it's all that big. I think it's, 4%, give or take. There's some weird taste in here that I think was originally that smokiness, but is now something completely different. Like I can shoot it as like hot dog water more than smokiness, or like deli meat kind of water, if that makes any sense. What you smell when you're at a deli counter in the supermarket kind of thing. I'm not really getting it. When I give it a huff now, I really don't get it. And the taste, it really is that kind of added sweetness. Man. Okay. Okay. Let's just not hem and haw. Let's go shoot from the gut and just say what I think this is. I think this is not macro beer. I think this is micro beer. I think this is actually a relatively small brewery, maybe an up and coming brewery. Close to them, they have Wayfinder and Fort Idle Hands and things like that. I think it's one of those breweries. Their attempt at either a Vienna lager or some kind of like Zwickel beer, but they just miss because I think it is a lager. Now that I drink it, because there's something about it, the way the yeast kind of comes off, it comes off lagery, but I think it was just not done well. Like maybe it wasn't kept at the correct temperature, and it came off a little bit flabby and less lager-like. I don't think it's macro. It's somebody's, man, I want to say Zwickel beer. That's what I want to say it is. Somebody's, because there's something, that's where the sweetness comes for me. I think there's this additional, it's malt based, because I can't put my finger on where that sweetness is coming from, but I think it's an additional malt on top of a base kind of Pilsner, excuse me, lots of burps, malt. So I think it's somebody's, their stab at their like first version of like a Zwickel beer. So kind of your Vienna lager, maybe a little bit more Czechy hopped up, but a little bit more malt forward. 4.6% Zwickel beer. How bad am I going to do this one? Yeah. I'm sticking by my guns. Lord Hobo. Okay. This is pickle beer. I did not get pickle in there, but that's where that weirdness comes from. So it's the pickle beer made with Grillo's pickle brine. We teamed up with our friends over at Grillo's Pickles to create this refreshing, slightly tart and unique pickle beer infused with fresh pickle brine from their world-famous classic dill pickles and utilizing lemon drop hops that imparts a touch of lemony citrus characteristic. We're certain we're not relished this delicious concoction. I am very curious to ABV. Maybe I can get that right. That would be a win, right? Not really. I still don't get pickle on this. I can get it. When you 6%. So it's a good 1.8%, 1.6, 1.4% off. That's a fun mystery beer. But here's the thing, is that I'm really curious to see what people have to say about this. More specifically, Sean, obviously, because I know he's had it. What other people have said about this, because I really don't get a big pickle characteristic off it. Now that I know it's a pickle beer, I drink it. I can get this salinity from it. Maybe that. Maybe like a little bit of garlic notes. That lemon drop hop, I think, kind of screws at things. But the nose is really, really bizarre. Maybe it's because I'm thinking of deli meats and I'm right next to that big tub of pickles. When you go to your local grocery store and while you're waiting there, I don't know if they still do this because of like COVID and cross contamination and stuff. But there used to be that kind of barrel that you lift the lid up and you just kind of, they ask you to use tongs, but you can just rip in there with your hands and come out with a big old pickle. Maybe that's why I was thinking of deli meat. I'm surprised how bitter it is. I guess they did get aggressive with those lemon drop hops. But when you put this up against some of the other pickle beers I've had, like the one, what's the place from Texas that does all the weird beers? Like I got that as a mystery beer, I believe. And then it was just like, okay, I'm drinking a pickle juice. This has, like I said, a salinity to it, this kind of garlicky thing to it. But it doesn't come off as like really pickly. Now, the more I drink it, the more I know it is. I kind of talking myself into it. I feel it kind of okay. I can get there. But man, that's a swing and a miss. Man, that's what happens when you do mystery beers like once every couple months now. Just rusty as can be, but a super fun rusty. And every time I crash and burn, it's probably my favorite portion of mystery beers. So from that standpoint, I'm doing quite well. So there you go, Sean, you son of a bitch. Way to screw with me. But man, the only thing I can give myself a pat on is just from that sniff. I knew there was something weird going on. I should have stuck with my guns. I should have assumed the weirdest shit would be thrown at me, which ends up being kind of like easy, you know, when people throw super weird shit. But I think there's a subtlety to this that isn't as aggressive as most pickle beers. So to bring it back to my initial comment on this current little diatribe, I'm really curious to see what everybody who's had this beer has to say, whether it's really pickle forward for them, what they thought of it, and just see if people actually like it. It's a beer, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, when I described it as some breweries kind of failed stab at a Zwickel beer, a malt forward beer with some weirdness going on. So it wasn't a beer that I enjoyed really all that much to begin with. That's kind of apparent. As a pickle beer, it's probably one of the better ones I've had to show you how low the ceiling is for pickle beers. But as a mystery beer, the weird ones are always the funnest. So huzzah to you, Sean, for making me look basically like I always look like, a dum-dum. So there you go. Mystery beer in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Down there, if you want to talk about it, like I said, if you've had this beer, let me know your thoughts. How pickle forward is it? Blah, 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 blah. Down there, mystery beers. You ever want to send them off, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on social media or massivebeers@gmail.com or matt@massivebeers.com. That thing still works too. Hopefully you're enjoying some mystery beers right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.